need more people over here, and what's going to happen. All of our years of the office people are going to be in this room. We're going to have 2 new people who, they're not new, but they're new enough so they still develop questions, and it's going to be hard for them to get the answers, especially if Jane and Kathy are over here. We can make this work either way. I know the town of Madison is shutting their town office down for the same project, and maybe for different reasons, I don't know, but they are shutting down. It would be nice to have that option if we feel as though we need that.
I'd make a motion, we authorize the town manager to close the town office on election day.
Okay.
I think everybody's going to be right here. It isn't as though you're going to be gone anywhere.
No, I'm working it. First time. Let's see how that goes. Are you okay with that, Jen? I mean, you're still on board with that?
Oh, yeah. Belgrade is closing, China is closing. They're all facing the same situation in that because of ballot clerks, they're not their regular ballot clerks, they're just not able to hire them to, so they are using a lot of their own town employees to do this. So it's going to be a challenge. That way too, then the ladies won't be struggling at the office.
Because they're going to be short-handed, and it's been so busy over there. You know, and just 2 of them, it's just going to be brutal. And we don't want to do that. So we got a motion.
Dana motion.
I made a motion.
Second by Bob, all in favor?
Thank you, gentlemen. The other thing is, the Central Maine Growth Council, we've decided to start try to form a diversity and inclusion plan for the region. I know that most of you know about it, if not all of you, can send an email out. What I've done is I've given you a copy of some of the results of our work, which is something that we're going to ask all of the towns in the region to look at and to try to adopt. This is not a political statement. We've had both conservative people and liberal people on this committee. The last thing we want to do is to make this political. We want this to be a healthy project for the community. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to read it out loud because there's people in the audience that hasn't seen it. This is the Kennebec Valley Regional Diversity Declaration. It states that in the Kennebec Valley region, diversity is part of our history, culture, and identity. The region's diversity declaration endeavors to foster and promote an environment that allows for all members of our community to feel valued, appreciated, and free to be who they are at work and at play just as much as they are at home. As a community, we strive to, bullet point, grow and nurture a culture where inclusiveness is a societal norm, not just an initiative. Bullet point, foster a deep sense of pride, passion, and belonging, regardless of your individual differences. And bullet point, unify our shared commitment to prosperity, ingenuity, and civic responsibility. Last paragraph, it states that we will routinely examine our beliefs and biases to ensure that we are upholding our values around diversity and inclusiveness. Communities that actively lift the human spirit and support diversity and inclusion are proven to be stronger societies where equity is more readily practiced and more obviously accepted. So this is a statement that has no political agenda whatsoever. Basically, if this project comes to fruition, we're going to be the first region in the state of Maine to actually have pulled something like this off, which in my opinion is quite powerful. When we're ready, I'm going to ask the council to consider adopting that for the town of Oakland. And if there's any questions that people feel uncomfortable asking me publicly, please stop in my office and we'll talk about it. This is collective work. There's been several voices involved in this, and personally I think that this is a good document and it's a good starting place for what the project that we're doing. If anybody has any comments right now, I'd love to hear them.
My comment is that I've been to 2 of these diversity meetings where they try to get some leaders from basically the 4 towns right now, Waterville, Winslow, Fairfield, and Oakland, to come up with some diversity declaration. again, without being political, because depending on where you go from this, it can become very political. I'm very aware of that, and I think, actually, I may have been asked to attend some of these meetings because I probably have a reputation of being to the right a ways, and I am fairly conservative, and I can see that some of the people involved in this, in these meetings, would like to see this go a long ways further than I would, and I can see the pitfalls down the road, depending on where it goes. But I see nothing political about this statement and about the work that we have tried to come up with so far. So I'm not afraid of where this is going, because if it goes somewhere where I think a conservative voice is afraid to go, I'll be the first one to stop it.
That's exactly why you were asked to sit on this committee.
So I think this is the work of at least 1, 2, 3 or 4 people to wordsmith this together, and even that is not an easy task. Right?
Because we're trying to keep it non-political. We're trying to keep this thing as healthy as possible.
This isn't a positive, negative question. It's not intended to be, I think the wordsmithing was very good. And I don't see any problem with it. If I was reading this in the newspaper, my first question would say, well, Kennebec Valley Region. So who is that? And does that include the KV athletic group? All the Kennebec Valley towns that are part of that, or is it just these 4 towns?
Well,
So I guess the only question I would have is, who does this represent?
One of the meetings, that was a discussion point, and I wasn't there. I was actually on vacation that particular week. And my understanding is we're starting this with the 4 communities right here in the region. And I just talked to Laura Sear about this, and she's got some interest up in her region. So I think that if we at least were kind of this is going to grow bigger than just Oakland, Waterville, Winslow, and Fairfield. This is probably going to involve Skowhegan. So if you get Skowhegan involved in it, then now all of a sudden you've got more than just our little region. You've just expanded it along the Kennebec Valley region. And the other comment was made is, possibly communities within Cartier that might be involved in it. But we're trying to hold it as small as possible to begin with. I think this is a good starting point. That's something that this isn't adopted by anybody yet. And, this is still a work in progress. This happens to be, cleaned up enough so it's presentable at this point in time. But there's nothing saying it won't change. So I hear what you're saying.
I'm sorry.
No,
I was at the meeting that Gary was not at, and when this originally was drafted, it talked about Kennebec County region. And it didn't take long to figure out that if you did that, you couldn't have Fairfield in it. So then people started talking about having all the communities that are represented by the Mid-Maine Chamber of Commerce, which is almost 30 or so. And then after all this discussion, the thought was that if we started with a core group of the 4 main communities in this area, Kennebec Valley regional diversity would then expand to include other communities once those 4 communities in this group got their I hate to say got their act together, but get their act together and get something developed that those 4 communities will support, and then look to broaden out that. Is that fair?
Further comments? Further discussion? Seeing none.
So at some point, in the near future, we'll be talking about adopting a statement for town hall. And, that's all I have, gentlemen.
Kelly, do you have anything tonight? David? David? Kelly? David? Bob? Tom?
I'm all set.
David?
Make a motion to adjourn. Second.
Second, all in favor? Can I have a motion? Thank you.